Life of the Wolf here. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to carve a block and everything that goes into that. I've broken up my main character into pieces so that my collaborator can put it into his animation software on a skeleton and make her move around. So I've done 2 of the blocks here. You can see them. I missed one little component, her bag, so I have another tiny little block which I'm going to carve for you here right now, and I'll walk you through it. All right, thanks. See you there. Okay, so I've got my 3 blocks here. You can see that I've broken my character up into pieces. When I created these 2 blocks, I realized I forgot her backpack, so I'm going to carve this little backpack for you today. One major consideration with printmaking, and it's the eternal struggle, is that when you print a block, it makes a mirror image on the other sheet. When I created these blocks, what I did was I had a drawing which I did and enlarged, and I needed to use some tracing paper to trace out the parts. And then I used carbon paper to transfer this tracing onto the block. Now, that adds one extra layer of complexity because I trace it in one direction and I have to flip it over to transfer it to the block so that when it's printed, it's the right way around. I was extra careful by when I traced it, I wrote printed on one side so that I know that that's the way I want it to come printed out. And then on the other side, the other way around, I wrote block so that when I'm tracing it onto the block, I know that I need to have this block side. So I've been printmaking for a while. It's something I'm very well aware of. And I even went through all these levels to try and make sure I did it the right way around. But when I was tracing some of these onto the block, even though I wrote block on this side, I had it on the printed side. So half of her on these blocks is printed the wrong way around. So, you know, I did everything I could to try and be as careful as I could. But still some of them are the wrong way around, but it's easy enough to scan them and put it, flip it in the software on the computer. So that's the magic of being able to do some of this on the computer. All right, so we're gonna carve her backpack, and I'm gonna give you a little overview of what it takes to carve this and the considerations for the decisions that I'm making in order to make this animated short look the way we want it to look. So here's my carving tool right here. You can see it's got a small fine point on it. That's for carving details. There's another one right here, which is a little bigger. That's for carving all of the areas away, outside of the block. So I've got my lines here, which I've, traced onto the block, and I'm gonna carve around the edges. So one thing that I'm doing is that when I carve on the outside of a line, I also carve in the inside of the line right here before doing any of the details on the inside. So that is going to make all the edges of this extra bold and, give it a very kind of distinct style. So that is like a design decision. So you can see on these, even though it's got all these details kind of inside the legs here, there's still a line, a carving to make this line a bit more bold. So that's a decision that I'm making just to make it a certain way. So when you're carving, you have to be careful, to get all the details and to not carve over parts that you don't want to. Even though, kind of be as careful as you can. Sometimes you'll do a little nick and carve away something that you didn't want to carve away, and it, will have, I guess, what some people would consider a mistake. But I've been printmaking for a long time, and the thing that I love about it is it's those little imperfections that really give it the life and the character and the style to show that it was handmade. And you know, if everything was perfect, if there wasn't any mistakes, then, you know, it wouldn't have any characteristics of that handmade process. So I'm making sure, you know, I try and be as careful as I can, but I don't get stressed out when things don't go perfectly. And honestly, I think that's really, really what makes these prints in the end. So I'm carving around these edges, and then when I'm done, I will, you know, carve some details on the inside. Now I'm going to be watercoloring all of these, so I need some, you know, unprinted space kind of in the middle in order to, you know, get the color. These lines are going to be printed in brown, which will give it a bit more of a warm feeling rather than like kind of a cold, you know, mechanical, just like black lines. So that gives it another bit of warmth in addition to the handmade feeling. So once I carve away my edges here, I can go ahead and do the inside. Now, this bag, like I said, I'm going to watercolor it, and it's going to be like a shade of brown. But I don't want to completely carve away everything. You know, even when you carve most of it away, there's like little ridges that are still going to print. And I want to get rid of as much of this as possible so that, you know, my watercolor will color it, but I don't want to get rid of everything, because those little ridges, like, give it character, which I think is going to enhance it. So you can see I'm kind of carving away as much as I can, but even when I carve it down, these little bumps right there, those are still going to print, and it'll give the final print a bit of texture. So I think that's a good overview for how this works and what it takes to carve. I won't make you sit through the rest of this. Kind of, you get the idea. You'll see the final print. And so these two blocks that I did, each one took probably about an hour and a half to carve. So it's not a quick process, but honestly, I think it's this handmade carving that gives this such a nice warm feel and will really guide the style of this animated short. So thanks for watching, and look forward to these prints when I print them out. All right, bye.